forward this to you. A group of non-physical teachers that have chosen the name Yeshua, J-E-S-H-U-A, Yeshua. I love having conversations with them, and I hope all of you guys too. So now that it's just a little bit past 7, we're going to go ahead and continue. I'm going to bring Yeshua in, and they're going to start addressing the questions. I know that much. So again, I hear the conversation as you do. I will not recall the details. And for those of you that are already in session 1, I'm really hoping that the audio is recording, because I can't hear any of you. Sometimes things happen. I cannot hear your questions today. So if you do have questions along the way, please put them in the chat. I'm going to leave that open so that I have easy access to what you're saying. My apologies for some glitch in the audio, but I'm glad all of you can hear me. All right, we're ready. We know that there's many things that you can do on a Tuesday night. We're glad that all of you are here with us. This is James to speak. I'm one among many within the Yeshua Collective. We are a body of teachers and healers and guides and some loved ones along the way. As people enter the room, we will pause in the channeled way. We bring Carol out of her channeled place, and then she clicks and brings people in. It is what some people, where's Kanzetta? There you are. Kanzetta is quickly learning the art of channeling. And last night in the unfoldment class, Kanzetta did her practice session, brought into alpha, back to beta, into alpha, back to beta, down into a very light tranced place, and then back up, down and up, down and up, down and up, down and up. Janelle received the same thing. So as people are joining, we are doing that with Carol, although she cannot feel it any more than you could last night. It doesn't matter what level you are. You cannot feel going down or going up unless you are going down into a deeper, deeper place, and then you start to feel sleepy. It is not sleep, however. We hold you, so we're going to talk about sleep just a little bit. Where you are is what the world calls beta. It's just your awake, aware state. You're fully awake and conscious of your surroundings. When you start to move into a healing place in the mind, the world calls it alpha. We say it's layers within a category, alpha. After that is theta, and that's where you're sound asleep. Channeled people will be somewhere in the range of very top to very bottom of that whole alpha category. If you're at the very top, you have complete awareness of your surroundings, but you don't contain a lot of memory from that moment. If you are deep in alpha, you do not hear the conversation. You do not know how much time has gone by, and you are brought out of it, and then you simply rejoin those that are in the room. There's always a need to have someone else in the room if you're in a deep alpha state for your channeled conversations. All right. Although it seems like a hassle, we do guide all of you to just fuss with your cursor until you can see the chat window on the bottom. Please do type your questions in the chat window. Normally, audio is two-way. Tonight, for some reason, it's only actually, it's going to fix itself. We do want to address these questions first because they're all good questions. So, Dave, we're going to roll right back up here. The purpose and functions of DNA, carbon and physical based, it's a product of learning, and it's a language barrier. Non-physical DNA is your energy field and all of the components in it. Your energy field is the non-physical part of you. You've got the human physical part, and you've got the spirit non-physical part. The moment that you are born, those two things join together, and your chakra system opens up. It's like a lifeboat. Opens up, and there you have an energy field. That energy field includes what we call the grid. You'll hear us talk about the grid often. And your chakra system. They are systems of systems. The grid contains all physical memories. topical, and emotional. Your chakra system is impacted by that which you have in the grid. If you have a lot of happy in the grid, your chakra system stays flexible. If you have a lot of violent, and you might not be a violent person, but if you watch television, you have soaked in a lot of violent. If you have gone to elementary school, you have soaked in a lot of violent. Now, we don't mean hitting kind of violent. We mean cursing. We mean sarcasm. We mean doubt. But we also mean the style of entertainment that includes guns and bombs and explosions. Or belittlement. Belittlement and sarcasm create worry lines that are very, very deep, very, very strong. And it's where a lot of your physical ailments stem from. Guilt, worry, anger, fear. Those are the ones that affect all of you the most. We talk about that throughout the session, throughout each class. We talk about it, and we talk about different ways to heal it. There are different ways to heal your emotions. Some of them are being outdoors and receiving fresh air. Why? Because fresh air touches the inner mind, and the inner mind registers it as something different. So if you're indoors and you're feeling down, you're feeling blue, you're feeling sad, stand up first of all. The inner mind starts to say, I'm doing something different. Go outside. The mind says, I'm also doing something else that's different. Many times when people are feeling sad to any degree, people sit down. So when you are sad, if you are hurting emotionally, stand up more than you sit down. You will want to sit down. So we talk in these classes, as well as the Hour Knowing and the things that we do, private sessions as well. We give you what your mind needs. What is your mind? The grid. You have a brain, you have organs of your body, and you have a skeletal system, and a muscular system, and a nerve system, digestive system, respiratory system, circulatory system, skin system, fascia system. All of them get impacted by your chakra system. The chakra system gets impacted by the grid. The grid gets impacted by physical life experience. When you think of a grid, you think of it like a hashtag. So picture a hashtag in your mind's eye. That means in your mind. Now, if the hashtag was hollow, tubes, hollow pipes, then you would understand what the grid is. The grid is an overlay inside the energy field on your body. Inside the grid is where memory resides for all of you. Do you remember being born? No, you do not. Is it in the grid? Yes, it is. Can you get to it? Yes, you can. Regressive life therapy takes you back into a moment in time of this physical life and allows the inner mind to re-experience it. We don't want you to re-experience birthing because it is a traumatic event for you because the mother is hurting. For you, it feels more like a slip and slide coming from the non-physical to the physical. So that memory does not harm you. It is stored, but it does not harm you. But if you were held a lot in the first month, you might want to go back to that first month, not to experience what it was like to be an infant, but to experience that kind of love. Can hypnosis help? Yes, it can. Can regressive life therapy help? Yes, it can. They are the same thing. We like regressive life therapy as a word because hypnosis comes with a lot of misunderstanding of what is happening, and also legend and lore and comedy. So anyone that's wanting to do hypnosis, we invite you to use the term that we will be using, regressive life therapy. You move into recessed part of the mind and bring forward memories. We want you to do that alongside your guide so that you bring forward memories that will aid you. What kind of memories? Well, if you have gathered in this, let's just go by decade. Let's say you're in your 4 decade, you're in your 40s, you're in your 4 decade, and you have acquired worry. In a regressive life therapy session, your guide may take you back to being 8 or 9 when you were joyful, 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 and bring those memories back to the surface. And in that moment, the grid cleans out. It removes life experience from before, it overlays it, it pushes down the old, and the newer worrying you, those memories get pushed into the recessed part of you. And then it's overlaid with joy, as an example. Health and healing, same thing. If you have chronic diabetes, there was a time in your life when you did not. Regressive life therapy, hypnosis, can help you. Theta banding can help you. But it's always desired for you to do it once the inner part of you, the inner mind, has learned the art of standing alongside your guide to be brought into a memory from your earlier life. Earlier this life. Earlier this life. We teach a lot of that. How to stay connected with your guide so that you can do things. Regressive therapy is just one. Hands-on techniques to move chi around in the energy field. We talk about that one a lot. So we're going to start with the attitudes. You all have an attitude, but it's an attitude in the moment. And you go through a lot of different emotions. But we talk about attitude in one way, all-encompassing, all-encompassing. The hand is good to identify emotions. The thumb, worry and all things like it. The pointer finger, fear and all things like it. Middle finger, anger and all things like it. Ring finger, sadness and all things like it. Pinky finger, belittlement, sarcasm, and being the recipient of it. On the left-hand side of your body is where your thoughts activate. And on the right-hand side of the body, it's where your emotions activate. You want to keep both of them clean. How do you keep them clean? Meditation. Meditation is the very best way. There are other techniques, and regressive therapy is one of those ways. But regressive therapy, meaning hypnosis, is not going to aid you if you do not have a strong connection on the inside now with your guide. So we bring in pillar 1. Pillar 1 being consciousness and everything about it. It is who you are in the non-physical place. It is about how you get into the physical body and how you leave it, and who helps you, and who is standing alongside you your entire life. You all have a superhero. We had a conversation earlier today, and the woman said, well, I thought I had a guardian angel. And we say it's the same thing. And we progressed in that conversation, and we began to talk about Christianity. And she said, well, Jesus talked to the Holy Spirit, so that must have been somebody different, right? And we say, no, it's not. But it was more of a collective, more of a group of beings that stepped in to guide that human being individually. You all have whatever you like to call that being, guide. We say guardian because they are your guardian. They help you in all things that you do in this physical life. They help you get here. They help you live it. They help you stay on track. They help bring you back on track. They help you progress down the track of life and all the facets of it. And then they help you step out of this life when undoubtedly there will be a time when all of you do. We take the mystery and preconceived notions out of where you go after you die. There's a lot of grief therapy that happens in this Tuesday night class. Because when you stop grieving, when you understand the process, we like to describe it as a two-way mirror. You're on this side of the mirror, and your loved ones who have made their way back over here are on the other side of the mirror. But the mirror is kind of tricky. On your side of the mirror, you can't see the other side of the mirror. On their side of the mirror, they can see and hear everything. So they all say, oh, there's my son-in-law. He's doing really well. Good for him. Oh, but there's my daughter. She's just not on her path. Now, you might think that there's a path. We say pre-birth intentions. That guide, guardian, supernatural hero that you all have is always looking at the grid and cleaning out the grid as much as the grid will allow it. That is important to note. The grid is the non-physical part of you that collects and disseminates memories. You receive ideas. It becomes a memory. You look out the window. It becomes a memory. You scratch your cheek. It becomes a memory. And the reason for looking out the window or scratching your cheek, those are also on the inside now, and the interior part of you is also memory. Memory. Whatever you have the most of, a different part of the inner mind, a different part of the grid, produces it back to you. You found many people in life that wore glasses. You will see more people with glasses than someone who did not. If you're raised in a family of alcoholics, you will notice alcohol more often than someone who did not. It's quantity of your memories. Now, what are memories? Anything that can be aligned to your five senses: eyes, ears, nose, mouth, skin. Your elbow touches the chair and feels soft. It's a memory. The emotion that you had is also a memory. The emotion of soft is a memory. Now, if you hit your elbow on something and now your elbow hurts, well, that's several memories that just got brought into the grid. So your elbow is a data collector, but it's not the elbow specifically, it's the grid. So we describe the grid in three parts. Part one collects data. That's the function, collects data. Part two, dormant, but when it fully awakens, it is the translator of verbal conversation from your guide. Part three, the producer or disseminator of what you have the most data in. Subject by subject, emotion by emotion. You might have a lot of lemon meringue pie and a frown face to go with it. So you might not like the color yellow. You might not like whipped cream because the mind looks at a lemon meringue pie, sees yellow, sees lemon, sees a pie, and sees the meringue on top, which can also look like whipped cream. So you might become someone that adores lemon meringue pie. Or you might not like yellow. Now, those two things don't seem to go together, but they do. There's always a basis for what you like and what you do not like. So life inside the grid is a wonderful array or an assortment of, I have a lot of this with positive emotion. Those are the things that you like, whether you know it or not, because there's a lot of quantity on the inside. And then there's quantity of something else and an emotion of gross, ew, angry, forgetful. Those all fall in the negative register. When you have a quantity that reaches a certain level, then it's shown back to you in life. The reason you might not like yellow, well, that could be you adore pies, but not that one. Why? Because you may have had at some point in your upbringing, someone squeezing lemon into water. And just one time now, that lemon came right into your eye. And if at that moment The grid structure was focused on the color yellow, not lemon, focused on the color yellow. If it shoots you in the eye, the juice, then you could, in that instant, create a significant event where something is not preferred. So if the mind is focused on yellow, using that example, and you get a citrus spray directly in the eye, you've got ow, you've got I don't like, you've got a shake of the head, and the mind in that moment could say, and this is free will, and this is what the grid does, it could say, significant event, we don't like yellow, because it didn't register lemon. It registered yellow. Now somebody else could be in the exact same position, and their mind registers pie and never even takes a look at the lemon, although it does register things in the eye hurt. So you might blink more often than someone else when people are pouring water or when you're next to a swimming pool. Because the mind looks at subject, 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 subject. How many do I have? Present it back. There's always a reason. Everything that you're doing, there's always a reason. So this is very nice. Jade, we're going to pick on you just a little bit because you chose to take a sip of your coffee, tea, water, whatever it is. Now your mug is tall, ceramic, and looks gray, at least on camera. There's a reason that you chose that one. And there's a reason that you chose to take a sip. And that sip is either on the inside, the interior mind is either saying, oh yeah, this is great conversation. Time for a sip of tea. If you like what's in the mug. If on the inside you like what's in the mug. Oh yeah, I like this conversation. It makes a lot of sense to me. Let's do something else that complements enjoyment. Let's take a sip. But if the interior mind is having a hard time understanding what we're saying, then it might say, this is needing more time to be fully understood. Let's take a sip of water. And so you take a sip. So every time you take a sip or a bite of something that you have in front of you, there's a reason behind it. It's not always the same reason. So we know that the audio is not working. That's all right. So Jay, just from a thumbs up and a thumbs down perspective, do you enjoy what's in your mug at this moment? You like the flavor? Okay. Do you like the temperature? Do you like the sweetness? If you could dump it out and then refill the mug, would you fill it with the exact same thing? Okay. Then your mind registers sip, not resistance. So that means that the inner mind, the grid. So when we say the inner mind, I-N-N-E-R, inner mind, we mean the grid. The world says subconscious mind. We agree with that term. The grid. 3 major parts to it. The first part collects data. The second part is dormant, but if it is fully awake, it translates verbal conversation from your guide. So let's just say it's dormant in 99.8% of the people. The third part of the grid produces life to you based on what number 1 has. So 1, 2, and 3. 1 is dormant until it's not. When it's not dormant, then it begins to wake up. Begins to wake up. When it is fully awake, then you have brought yourself into mediumship and or channeled medium. It's nice to know. You're also accurate at that point when it's fully awake. Number 1, data collector. Number 3, the disseminator of what you have the most of. Those two are in cahoots. Those two communicate 24 hours a day. That is your law of attraction. Your law of attraction is unique to you and what is in your grid at any moment in time. So some of you do things like take personality tests or quizzes. Let me see, what's my emotional person like? What's my intelligent person like? What's my communicative person like? What is my argumentative self like? Many, many, many kinds of quizzes that you could take. Body type? What is my body type? And the world has all kinds of research and scientific things that are documented on body type and shape for men and for women. We say at the moment that you take that quiz, you are defining for yourself who you are in the grid. So we always want you to do fun things, but when you do fun things like that, that create an I am, ... I am this, I am that, we want you to just take that and lightly believe it, lightly believe it. It might be accurate for you in that moment, but it might not be accurate next year. If you are enthusiastic about chakra work or yoga or meditation or quiet moments, and you take them, quiet moments, you like them and you take them, then your guide, that supernatural being, is cleaning out the grid little by little by little by little. It is why many people advance into their clairvoyantness or their channeled ability late 30s, 40s, 50s. It is the peak. It is the peak time, not because age has anything to do with it, but it's an accumulation of slow and steady clean out, slow and steady clean out, slow and steady clean out. And then at a certain point in time, aspect 2 gets some loving on by your guide and begins to wake up. Cleaning out the grid is a lifelong process. It's a challenging process for you, but it's not a challenging process for your guide. They know how to do it. They're masters of it. But you clog it up as fast as they clean it up. Meditation is the key. Silent meditation is the key. Sometimes the inner mind is more ready than you know of to let something go. And so you say, I don't know, I'm just not understanding my partner. We just don't get along anymore. Your guide has been cleaning that up, cleaning that up, cleaning that, cleaning that, cleaning that, cleaning that. And we say that's a great time to get a reading. It's a great time to break out your pendulum and really get some things understood. Because you might still have that view with your partner 10 years from now. It might be 5 years from now. It might be a year from now, or it might be a day. And all of a sudden you see your partner with different eyes. So looking for evidence of what you're wanting to heal is always critical. It's always critical. You might feel like you're making it up, but you're not. If you experience something in your lifetime, it means that you can have it. Has anyone ever seen an airplane? If you have seen an airplane, you can be on one. You can see more of them. You can own one. Now, if you see money and it frightens you, then owning one is probably unlikely. But if you see money and you like the look of it, the feel of it, the sound of it, and you like using it, and that's where people get really confused. You might like money. You might like to have a pocket of dollar bills. You might really enjoy seeing your bank account, but you might be afraid to spend it. You might have a very generous 401k, and you might be a good investor, and you might have those numbers really, really, really accumulating. But are you afraid to spend it? If you are, owning an airplane is probably unlikely. The one thing that all people need to understand is what you do is what you get. What you do, what you get. What you do, you get. If you do afraid on money, then you will have less money. If you are joyful about money, you will have more money. You will have an easier time with money and knowing what to do with money. Life's not easy, but it does get easier when you understand that the grid is that soul part of you. So when we say chi, we mean prana, we mean source frequency, we mean soul energy, we mean knowledge within. It is the part of you that is non-physically focused, into your life's experience. It is the supernatural part of you, but it is in a limited capacity because you are in a physical world, because you're in a physical world. So the capacity that you have to heal your bodies is a lot more than you think. But you cannot do the healing yourselves. You can set yourself up for healing. You can know that healing occurs. But it's always best for you if you understand who is doing the healing. So when we talk about the grid, all memories are contained in the grid. You have the hiccups and you laugh, then your body absorbs. I have the hiccups and I have laughter, but it also combines them. There's a reason that you have hiccups and there's a reason that you like them. Memories have aided both of them in becoming something that you experience in your now. Do you want to have hiccups? We say no. It's an artificial mode of the body. Artificial mode of the body. So even if you laugh at them, we say, don't say, I like hiccups. Hiccups are so fun. I love them. Hiccup, hiccup, hiccup. Because if you say you like doing hiccups, then you like embarrassment. You like being lonely. You like being abandoned. You like being outcast. You like being outside of the inner circle. You like things that are not natural to some degree or another, to a light degree or a heavy degree. If you say, I like hiccups, then the body says, okay, we like awkward, because hiccups stem from feeling like you are awkward one too many times. So in the moment that you're driving in your car and you're just moving from point A to point B, all of a sudden you get the hiccups. Nobody else is in the car with you, and you suddenly get the hiccups. We still say one too many times of you feeling awkward. Now, this is where people say, well, that doesn't make any sense, Yeshua. And we say, well, it does make sense. Because that supernatural part of you that gathers data, it gathers data from everything that you can see and hear and feel and touch and smell and taste. But it also gathers data that's in the world. There is no time, space, continuum in your world, in this sub-reality, in this place that you're having a physical life. That supernatural part of you can dip into the past quite a ways, and it can dip into the future a little bit. And your minds are constantly scouring the world for things that match what you have in the grid. So even though you don't think that you just felt awkward, you had to have. Now, you might not have registered a thought that made you feel awkward, although you probably did. Thoughts come and go, come and go, come and go. A thought of, oh, no, I probably don't want to do that. Awkward. Because it feels awkward to say I'm going to do something and then back out. So when you have a thought and you negate it with doubt, you are accumulating quantity of awkward, because it's awkward to say yes and then have to say no. So a yes directly followed by a no creates quantity of awkward. Now, hiccups is not the only thing that presents itself. Twisted knee, twisted ankle, tendonitis in the elbow, lockjaw, left side of the nostril, runny, all stem from too much awkward. Seeing awkward is also experiencing awkward. So if you watch television and there's people that are shying away from conversation, there's a whole movie. The whole movie is all about this person coming into their own, or something is happening and somebody feels left out. There's a lot of awkward moments in movies where people are really misunderstood, and they try to have relationships with people, and they try to do this and try to do that, and everything is falling apart, and they try again, falling apart. That's awkward, filling up the grid. So then you, who may not feel awkward, who may not have a life experience that mimics what you watched on television or read in a book. You've taken in awkward no matter what. So think to yourself, what kind of books do I like to read? What kind of movies do I like to watch? What kind of music do I like to listen to? And take one of each, one book, one television show or movie, and one song that you think that you like. Oh yeah, I like that song. Look at the words in the book. Listen carefully to the words in the movie, and really look carefully at the words in the lyrics of that song that you identified I like. Does the song talk about taking a baseball bat and beating up your boyfriend's car because he cheated on you? Oh, I love that song. I'm always singing that song. I love that song. I love that song. Everybody gets in the car. Oh, we turn it all up. And it is a very fun song to move to because the rhythm is fun, but the words are not. And the words clog the grid. Clog the grid. So you've got this grid component, and it does look like graph paper, and it's all throughout the energy field. Inside is your soul frequency that is flowing through it, flowing through it, flowing through it, flowing through it. Flows like water, flows downstream, flows, downstream, upstream, downstream, upstream, because it's flowing 24/7 throughout the meridian structure of the grid. So any subject at all, if you have that subject plus any kind of positive emotion, the memory and positive emotion keeps the flow going, keeps the flow going, keeps the flow going. But anytime you've got a memory that's associated with any kind of negative emotion, you clog the pipe. You clog the etheric pipe in the grid, which is in the energy field of you. That always clogs the throat chakra. When the throat chakra gets clogged enough, it impacts the heart chakra, and then the solar plexus chakra, and then directly down to the root. The sacral is skipped. Now, we like when people use numbers for the chakra system. Crown number 1, third eye number 2, throat chakra number 3, heart number 4, solar plexus number 5, sacral number 6, root number 7. Because it reminds you that the number one thing is receiving soul energy through the crown. Soul energy through the crown. So that's number 1. Now, a lot of schools of thought will put them the other way around. 1 is the root. We don't care what you do, but we like numbers better. Because when you are suffering from things like awkward, right side of the throat chakra, over half of it. Now, the right chakra, the throat chakra, pardon us, below the nose to the clavicle. This entire area all the way around you, 6 feet out into the air, all the way out here. Awkward clogs that half. Clogs it. Because vibration of discord is a vibration that is different than a vibration of peace. So if you're inside a water slide, water is flowing, 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 flowing. But if you try to put your hands on the wall, then you're going to go down that inner tube, that water slide, in a clunky way. That's what negative emotion does inside the grid. It's a hollow tube. And the negative emotion vibrates in a dense way. Disappointment all the way to rage, depression, and rage. The deepest things that you can feel. The vibration of peace, the vibration of disappointment, vibration of anger, vibration of hate, vibration of rage, vibration of depression. In the grid, inside those tubes. Now, if you were trying to put water down a tube with a vibration going like this, that water would not flow cleanly. It would pivot. This way, this way, this way, this way. Dodge and weave and pivot, because the source frequency is moving but it has to move around negative emotion. When it moves around negative emotion, that's delay in life, but it's also a worry marker for you inside the grid. So having a grid structure is good for you. It's where memories are. But the grid structure needs cleaning out. What your guide does in meditation and in happy moments, as well as in sleep, is they look at your energy inside the grid, the emotional energy, and they soothe it, soothe it, soothe it. We like when the world describes meditation as emotional balance. And it is emotional balance that you will gain from quiet walks in the park, doing it as a rule, taking mental note of the kind of television you watch or the books that you read. Slow and steady clean out, slow and steady clean out. But you're also getting absorption and accumulation at the same time, because the world is what the world is. And even though you might have a peaceful life, you just say, yeah, but I still get migraines. I haven't gotten rid of the migraines. Well, the cause for the migraines are, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. Now, if you get a migraine and it's mostly on the left side, then it's thoughts of, I don't know how to do, and fill in the blank. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. If your migraine is on the right-hand side, then it's just the emotion of frustration. Felt again and again and again creates quantity in the grid. When quantity reaches a certain amount, then you have a thought. When it continues to accumulate, then you have a behavior that you do not enjoy. And when it continues, then you have a physical problem that you do not like. All physical problems stem from negative vibration that has accumulated to an unhealthy degree inside the grid. Emotional memory is what we're talking about. Emotional memory gets soothed. If you want to say healed, that's okay, but it gets soothed. It's like a pot of boiling water, and you just pour cold, 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 cold. Over time, that pot of boiling water will cool down. If you're not taking in excess. Got to find the tipping point. You want to tip it to peace. When we talk in this class about the grid, it is by necessity, because the inner mind of you does not know what a grid is. People do talk in the world about the subconscious mind, about the soul within, about chi and prana and all of those wonderful words. But you don't really know what it is. And that's what we like to teach. The grid is the mechanism by which your soul frequency flows through the energy field of you. Meditation can be a healing place, but you have to know how to do it. If you sit in meditation and you think, or if you sit in meditation and you have music on in the background, or people talking in the background, or you think standing up outside just receiving fresh air, those do not provide enough quieted mental and emotional state for clean out to happen. You do need to be sitting down, eyes closed is best, no sound in the room, and just simply relax for as long as you can. 5 minutes a day is the minimum, and over time, emotional balance will occur. When you know that in those quiet moments, your guide is doing energy work inside the grid. And when they soothe those emotions, the chakra system lights up. It goes from being bent or broken, not broken, but bent and reshaped. It reshapes itself in a way that is unnatural. When it does that, you have physical problems. So when your guide is cleaning out the grid, they're always looking at the chakra system. They're magnificent at what they do, these supernatural beings that are with you in this physical world. When you sit in meditation, or when you lounge in the bathtub, or you sit in the hot tub and you just love it, love it, love it. It's not the quietest place with all those bubbles going, But you get some, as long as there's not music and people talking and whatnot. When you remind yourself that in those quiet moments, your guide is doing clean out work in the grid, softening work, soothing work, then you get more done. It's a little extra because you create accumulation on my guide cleans, my guide soothes, my guide fixes, my guide heals. When people say I heal, well, I heal myself, I do meditation, and I'm healing my body. I am healing my body. We say, no, because the human being cannot heal that which you cannot see. And the subconscious part of you cannot see where the clogs are. It only knows that they are there. It senses, it's sensory perception, and it senses where the malfunction is, where the clog is, where the dense vibration is occurring. But it does not know how to fix it. That's why you have a guide. People don't meditate in general. Small pockets, small percentage of the population. People wake up and they're scrambling to get out the door, and they are hard on themselves from the minute they wake up. Oh, I hit the alarm twice. Gosh. And you're already frantic. You're adding to the grid. Negative emotion, negative emotion, negative emotion, negative emotion. First thing in the day. And then it just accumulates. And then your guide soothes it in your sleep. If you understand and understand and know this, to be sure, if you understand that you have a non-physical body and it is integrated with your physical body, and that non-physical body has different components in it, and that non-physical body is a receiver of life experience, and it collects it, it holds on to it, it labels it, categorizes it, and keeps track of quantity. And when quantity rises to a certain amount, it hands it over to another part of the subconscious mind, and then you start activating it, experiencing it, manifesting it in your life. Everything is by way of quantity in the grid. Every subject, every emotion, every thought, every activity, every behavior. A lot of what's in the grid is good. When you bring yourself into meditation, then your guide gets a lot done. There's a lot of ways to do it. We talk about all of them. Hands-on techniques we call Yeshua's method, and we use vortex points within the body, generally with the hands, laying hands on the body, and we teach you how to do it, what kind of pressure to use, light, none, minimal, where to do it, why to do it, in what circumstance. But laying of the hands is also something that you have read in books, seen in movies, or on the news, and it feels weird to say, I'm doing laying of the hands. So if it feels weird, don't say it. Just say, I'm doing maintenance. I'm softening that part of the grid, and my guide's going to clean that part out. We say always focus on the throat chakra, on chakra number 3. Because communication is essential, but communication also aids the reception that you have with your guide. So your guide is a supernatural being, and they are tethered to you. There's a non-physical cord that goes from your non-physical body to them. It is a non-physical component of your physical life. When you have good communication skills as a human being, then you are more likely to receive more non-physical healing from your guide. That is the art of self-healing. Position yourself to be happy, position yourself to be joyful, position yourself to give way. If you are trying to get your way and you see the other person's point, give up the fight. Walk away from a fight. Exercise when you think that you are wanting to. Eat healthy when you think you are wanting to. Step outside when you feel depressed. There's so many different things that we teach you. Hands-on technique is just one way. Now, when we teach the hands-on technique, we get down to the nitty-gritty details. Jean, can you raise your hand, Jean? So Jean went with us to a get-together in Pittsburgh. And at that get-together, Carol suffered a migraine. So standing right there, we said to Jean through Carol, take Carol's hand, take your two hands, and hold on to these two fingers and these two fingers simultaneously and hold them tight. And in less than 3 minutes, Carol's migraine was gone. So we teach you those kind of things. Now, it's gone in the moment. It does not cure you from migraines. But every time you do it, it tells the mind that you do not want a migraine. And that you do understand energy work works. Power of positivity aids your self-healing. Power of positivity. That's joy. That's joyfulness. Turning the other cheek. Choosing to wear a color that you find pleasing. Shying away from going to funerals if it is not necessary for you to be there. Because where you meet up with sad, you receive sad. Where you meet up with anger, you receive anger. Where you meet up with happy, you receive happy. But it's not that you will be sad. It's that you accumulate sad. You may go to a funeral and you may have done beautifully. You barely cried and you kept yourself together and you smiled a lot and you had some casual conversation. That's wonderful. You did a good job. But there were a lot of people around you crying. If you're in a funeral home, at a wake or a service, then there's multiple services every day. Every day. That's a lot of accumulation of sad energy in the room. And if your inner mind is wanting to survey that room, not just the physical people and what they are doing and what your eyes can see and what your ears can hear, but if it wants to survey a different layer of time in the room, you can soak in a lot of sad. And then all of a sudden, you've got back pain. You didn't have it, but you don't connect the dots between going to a funeral one too many times. Or that one if there was just an enormous amount of sad. You don't know what the subconscious mind is doing. Now you know where you are and what you're paying attention to. It's paying attention to that as well. But it sees things that you do not, that are literally in the room, and also things that used to be in the room. Memories reside. Every thought that's ever been thought remains. Thoughts are subjects, but thoughts are also emotions. And what you take in is not just your experience. It is content of anything you read and anything you listen to. We teach you how to avoid those things. We teach you how to find evidence where you think there is none. And we teach you about the guide structure, the transition, and all things about who you are as a physical human being and why you're here. We go over some pre-birth intentions to aid you in why your life is what it is. We talk about problems that you're having, as well as things that are going well. We talk about sticky notes. Sticky notes. They're a fun mechanism. It's a fun way to move about and take your memories with you. Positive memories, quick and easy things. Carol has a sitting room in her home in Pittsburgh, and that sitting room is very pleasing to her to look at. She likes to sit in it as well, but she likes to look at it. And so when she's having a rough moment, we say, what do you want to do about it? She chooses different things on different days. But as of late, she chooses to see the room from the entrance over to the opposite corner, where it's a dark charcoal gray wall, light curtains on either side, a white small sofa, and a vase of silk pink tulips. And when she sees that, the grid goes, the grid relaxes. When the grid relaxes, her emotions come down some. Sitting room. Bubble bath. Last week, I had a lollipop. That's a pleasing memory. Put it on a sticky note. Carry it around with you. If you can focus on it in the moment where you start to feel energy rising, negative energy rising, take yourself back to a different moment in time where you felt happy, where you felt good, where you felt pleased, where you said, oh, that's nice. You will bring that emotional you away from whatever you were experiencing and then re-engage. We call that touch and go. We have a lot of conversations with people. Classes are an hour. Practice session is a half hour. Practice session is optional. We like it when you do both. We like teaching, and we also like answering questions. So we're going to go to the chat, and we're going to answer as many of these as we can in the next few minutes. Dave, your question on consciousness, we'll do that in the hour going, and we will answer it there, so we will capture it. Are genetic conditions karmic? No, they are not. Karma is your life experience and accumulation in the grid. Genetic conditions are what your eyes see and what your ears hear from the moment you're born until about the age of 4. What you see, you become. What you see, you become. What you see, you become. And then life's influence alters that which you are on your way to becoming. Quick answers here. Karma, my dear, is real, but it's not the way people think of it. Past life karma, your last life or 10 lives ago, they don't haunt you. It's not baggage in this lifetime. It is not, truly it is not. There are things that you do in physical life, and there are things that you do in non-physical life. And sometimes if you don't get life done in a way that is productive, then you do some different things in the non-physical place before you become a person again. So if there's any karma, it's going the opposite direction. But you do have karma in this life, and karma does come back and get you. But karma is just another word for law of attraction. Law of attraction is real. And if you can relate karma and law of attraction as the same thing, then you have understood that it is yours uniquely. And it does follow you. Clean it up, clean it up. We're told we created linear time to experience and function in this 3D, no time in higher dimensions, just moment points. How is experience perceived in the higher dimensions? As an 8. It's continuous. We can loop back and we can loop forward. We can loop back and we can loop forward. Your inner mind does the same thing. It loops to the past, comes into the now, and a little bit in the future. So it's like a lopsided figure 8, small on one end, big on the other, because the non-physical part of you is still a non-physical component. It's just not fully able to do everything that it knows how to do. Linear time is here, but everybody's linear time is here. So everybody that's doing something tonight on March 28th, 2023 at exactly 8 p.m., there's a lot of people doing something. And so those are different layers, all in this sector of time. And your non-physical mind can jump down into those sectors. That's why people say there's no time-space reality. Well, there isn't, but you can kind of make a good argument that there is. There is time and there is space in your reality, but that time-space continuum is going down and back again, down and back again. So it's more like a figure 8. People who have trouble having children, is it built in? It might be. You might have set yourself up where you did not want to bear children so that you could focus on something else. Many times, a woman might not be able to conceive. Other times, a woman might not be able to remain pregnant. If you have watched movies where women are bearing down in pretend childbirth, it only takes one time for the grid to make a decision. And if one time it was paying attention to pain plus labor, then that woman might not be able to hold on to pregnancy and have miscarriage after miscarriage. That's solvable. That's energy work, and that's throat chakra and heart chakra energy work specifically. Sometimes you build in specific children. All children are chosen by a higher being. When doing hands-on healing for a person, where on the body do you put your hand placement for an injury on the coccyx hip that is sensitive to touch? There's two different methods here. There is hands-on placement to soothe a problem in the moment, and that is the physical problem. So let's say that you've got a cut. There are techniques to stop the blood from flowing and to heal internally and externally. So if you're talking about the coccyx and the hip, you're talking about bone, that's internal. That's left hand placement, usually the palm, directly over the place that is sore, below it and above it, and to the right and to the left. So it's moving around. Hand placement is around. For different lengths of time, we would say take out your pendulum and then ask in 10-minute increments. But it gets very lengthy when you do that. We say something like that, you can take away some immediate pain, but you can also take whatever your doctor has given you as a prescription or whatever your favorite over-the-counter thing is to aid inflammation. Inflammation. When inflammation moves down, then the ligaments are more flexible. When the ligaments are more flexible, then the bone is not pulled. When the bone is not pulled, everything relaxes. So inflammation needs to be attended to for anybody that's got skeletal problems. But why did the hip or the coccyx get a problem in the first place? There's a different hand placement, and it's the outer thigh. So if it's the right hip, it's the left outer thigh. If it's the left hip, it's the right outer thigh. So that's generally taking two hands because it's wide and placing it on the outer thigh. But the outer thigh is a big area, and you do not know, you cannot see where that energy blockage is. So we say cover the whole area. Cover the whole area in small increments. But that's healing the energy block, and that does take time. So in the meantime, taking your anti-inflammatories is good. Now, when we present material through different people, sometimes we say, it's okay to take medicine, just don't believe that the medicine is healing you, because the medicine is soothing a symptom, soothing something that you are focused on, soothing something that you are noticing or experiencing, but it is not fixing the blockage that created that problem in the first place. So when you have accumulation, we say it again, accumulation gets to a certain degree. The first thing that happens is you have a negative thought. The second thing that happens after more accumulation is a behavior that is not healthy for you. After even more accumulation, you start to have a physical problem. Now, a physical problem does not end up as a joint replacement. That's after a long aggravation inside the grid. So there's more to that one. Past life experiences. Okay. Past life experiences are in the grid. Yes, they are. You cannot reach into them. This energy field that is you, the grid structure that is you, the chakra system that is you, you recycle it. You use it again and again and again and again and again. But once you leave this physical world and you go to the non-physical place, those memories are positioned inside your energy field in a place that is identified as past lives. And then a new grid structure is placed in position of new. And then you use that entire non-physical body again. Memories fill up your current grid, and then they get pushed into past life experience part of the grid. Past life regression does not tap into past lives, meaning lives that you have already had and completed and moved back into the non-physical place. It is an impossibility. The structure of the grid is designed so that your other lives, your other personalities, your other identities do not integrate with this identity. Past life regression always takes you to the recessed part of the mind, and then you re-experience whatever you want. Unless you have a strong connection with your guide, and then you experience what they want you to have new accumulation on. Past lives are real. Recessive life therapy is your guide taking you to a different place and time of your physical life to re-experience healthy emotion. It might be confident you. It might be smart you. It might be energetic you. It might be joyful you. It might be happy you. And they bring the emotion forward in a quantity that does some healing of the grid. It's like reaching into 40 years ago, I was so healthy. If your mind is prepared to stand side by side with your guide in that regressive therapy, then your guide can take you to 40 years ago, let your grid absorb healthy you, healthy you, healthy you, healthy you, to the degree that it will satisfy itself and then bring you back out of that regressive therapy. And you have, in that moment, received an enormous quantity of new, healthy emotion, a specific emotion. And it tips the scales inside the grid. That's how healing occurs. Healing occurs by altering that which is already in the grid. Superconscious, subconscious, conscious aspects of the heart mind. All right. Superconscious is that higher self of you. Superconscious being, the super conscious being, the one that has no limitations, has no negativity, and is in the non-physical place. Your superconscious is not in your physical world, it is in the non-physical place. Subconscious, that is the grid. And the grid is housed inside your energy field alongside the chakra system. That's your subconscious, and there are parts to it that we describe in class, parts 1, 2, and 3. There is the conscious you in your physical reality, and that is grid 3, presenting life to you based on what grid 1 has accumulated. That, in other words, is your life's experience. Aspects of the heart mind. We say the heart mind is your subconscious mind. It's the same thing, different words. The subconscious mind is the grid, capital T, capital G. And there's 3 layers to it. 3 layers to this identity that you have now. After you leave this world, your grid gets cleaned up, all negative emotion is removed, and then it is all synthesized into a single grid, and then it is pushed into the sector of your non-physical body that is identified as past lives. That life is completed. Your identity and who you are is not. You keep going as your individual self, and you also keep going as the stream of consciousness that contains all of your lives. All right. We're at 10 minutes after 8, so we have exhausted a number of the questions, but not all of them. We are going to pause here. We're going to invite students of session 1 to remain where you are. And we just want to say to everyone that is a guest of the open house, we hope that you have liked what you have heard. We do know that people have many things that they can do on your Tuesday night. We hope that you join us for session 2, 3, 4, and beyond. We love you so much. That's all for tonight. All right.